Welcome back to the Green Workbench. Today we are finally getting some gravel for the driveway. You've seen me use a box blade before to kind of bring up the old rocks. Finally time to put down new, so we decided on an asphalt, crushed asphalt. It's much cheaper and it will also solidify a little bit. So we're waiting on the trucks to come, and it'll come down through here, down the driveway from the front, from the road, into this big parking area, and then out the back. We've got a back entrance, so they can just come all the way through. So we're just waiting on the truck.
All right, so the truck came through the back entrance first, and the dump truck got stuck in the mud. It's been so wet here this winter that the ground is just saturated down 3 feet, and it just sunk. And so he had to dump a lot of it there on the curb and on the street, out where I'm digging right now, and it required another dump truck to come and pull him out. So from then on, he came through from the front, like I had mentioned before, and he just essentially had to dump it in big piles. So I got the pile at the curb, the pile here in the foreground, and then 2 additional piles leading out. And then it was up to me using the tractor to spread all of that material out. And the problem was is I couldn't use that back entrance where I'm digging because there was a pile there and because the dump truck put holes in the ground and it was just so mushy. I tried even the next day and my tractor got stuck almost. So I had to fill buckets, drive all the way around the front of my house, come through the front driveway, drop them off, come around. So it took forever, but that's what you're seeing here. That's why you see the tractor there. And then I just started working these piles by dragging it out with the box blade and also with, see, you can see there, just basically dragging those piles down and then also with the bucket. And I'll show you that more here in a second.
All right. Some muddy mess, but we're using a combination of the bucket and the grader. So right now I'm taking the bucket, bringing it back, and then I'm going to meet in the middle. These piles were the best the driver could do, unfortunately. So I'm going to dump here. I'm going to walk it back a little bit. That wasn't a very big bucket. Oh, there we go. And then drag it with the bucket. Buckets aren't designed to drag like this. I'm only doing it with a little bit of weight, so it shouldn't be too bad. Again, I'm no pro, but I can get better and better.
Okay, I'm going to bring down the volume here. I had a lapel mic on and it actually popped off at some point and got run over or buried. I don't know where it is, but anyway. So I used the bucket there to dump and I would back drag it a little bit. I didn't want to put too much pressure back dragging the bucket. There's not really enough in each bucket to cause much of a problem, but that was just to spread it out just a little bit as I went. So I continued filling buckets, backing up, back dragging just over and over and over again on that side. And then you'll see coming up, I turn around and I use the box blade to pull more from that pile forward. And essentially, I kept doing both of those things until I met in the middle and I had a consistent depth of a couple inches all the way down this part of the driveway. And this is the front driveway, so it gets the most traffic. And it also doesn't get very much sunshine because it's on the north side of the house. So where that snow is on the left of the picture, that remained wet and muddy for days after this. It took a long time for that to dry. And just like I was doing before, I'm essentially bringing my box blade up onto the pile and then pulling it out. And I continue to do that and stretch it out. It doesn't, you get lesser material as you go, as it fills in the gaps and the holes and the dents and everything in the road. And that's why I couldn't do that for this entire driveway. I had to bring buckets full up there to work with later. But this worked really well closer to the pile. And a combination of the two of them allowed me to really spread out this pile up the driveway efficiently. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure how this happened, but while I was working on grading and moving all of this crushed asphalt with super heavy, these are supposed to be straight. I know there was at least once where I forgot to bring it up and went in reverse, but I don't feel like that was when it happened. There was another time when I got the where I sunk in the mud, and I had to use the bucket to kind of lift me up to push me out. So it's possible as it was kind of lifting up and going backwards, it was pushing down the weight of the tractor back here. But yeah, this is bad. And the fun thing about it all is that you can't just order this part. It breaks so infrequently that they have to go to the manufacturer, which means, yeah, I did something special. So give me a chance. I'll figure out a way to break something. Okay, so here we are a couple of weeks later, and it's all done here and all smoothed out. With that broken box blade, I used a chain because I didn't have those braces, and then weights to keep them down because I still had more work to do to spread it out. It was mostly done, but I still had more work to do, and I was able to spread it out, and then it needs to be compacted down in order to get hard, and maybe one day I need to rent a compactor, but I essentially just used my tractor and drove up and down, up and down, up and down until it was all compacted down. And then the more we drive on it, the more compact it gets. So far, it's working really well. It's turning hard. We haven't had any good storms yet to test it, but it is getting more compacted down as we go. It was a massive job, especially with the broken box blade. And then that back portion took a long time to dry out and get worked. But so far, I'm very happy with it. I think it was a great option, and it was about a quarter, maybe a third of the price of using stone or gravel. So that's awesome. So let's show you this back section. So this is the driveway going out the back over the curb. And one of our goals was to make the ramp on this side, on the yard side, a little more gradual, because before it was pretty steep. And so any small cars would bottom out on the curb, so I could only drive trucks or higher lifted cars over it. So we needed to put a lot more material to build that up, so it's a much more gradual ramp. Now, that right here is where the dump truck sunk in, and it was so wet it took a week for it not to be just mushy as you stood on top of it, just because underneath was so wet, and then the asphalt needed to dry, and it's just so thick here. But it's dry now. We've driven over it. We're still working on compacting it, you can see, but it works much better. And now we can, using just curb ramps, eventually I'd like to get the curb cut so that it can become the driveway, so we're not coming in off the busy road. But here it is looking back. I was able to drag it smooth even with the broken box blade, and it ended up working really well, so I'm very happy with it. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know. I hope to see you next time on the Green Workbench.